Have you ever wondered if a book could hold the power to drive people mad, summon ancient entities, or even alter the fabric of reality itself? What if I told you that such a book exists, and its name has echoed through the corridors of history, whispered in fear and fascination alike? Today, we're diving into the chilling lore of the most dangerous book in history, the Necronomicon. Buckle up, because this isn't just a tale of fiction, it's a journey into the dark recesses of human imagination and the mysterious allure of forbidden knowledge. Stay with us as we uncover the origins, the myths, and the terrifying truths behind the Necronomicon. You won't want to miss what we found. Numerous people have been influenced by H.P. Lovecraft's writings, and this influence can still be seen today in a variety of odd fiction works as well as the cosmic horror subgenre. The imaginary grimoire Necronomicon, which contains a variety of evil rites, magic, and odd sciences, was one of his most well-known concepts. There is now a theory that suggests there may have once been a Necronomicon, only Lovecraft translated and published it. A lot of it boils down to Lovecraft himself and how appealing the idea was to others, though this may not be entirely accurate. Compared to other of Lovecraft's other works, this specific grimoire is more heavily folklorized and has a rich past. Along with being a strong supporter of a common universe, he also urged other writers to build on his writings if they thought it had potential. Thus, you almost get the impression that a certain idea, the Necronomicon, in this case, must have been true or at least grounded in some sort of truth when this many authors are addressing it. I suppose the Necronomicon's degree of enigma and ambiguity explains why so many others have used it, even in contemporary works that don't always relate to Lovecraft's mythology. The book's owner is a figure called Abdullah al-Hazard, referred to by Lovecraft as the Mad Arab. The story, The Nameless City, initially mentions al-Hazard a few years before The Hound, but we don't learn until much later about his connection to the Necronomicon. When asked where he got the idea for his works, Lovecraft answered in the most Lovecraftian way imaginable. He stated it came to him in a dream. We're pretty sure by now that his nightmares and dreams were, to put it mildly, bizarre. According to him, the Greek meaning of the name Necronomicon is, an image of the law of the dead. The term Book of Laws of the Dead has been interpreted by later writers to mean Book of Names of the Dead, and even Book of Dead Names. At the very least, this suggests that the Necronomicon was intended to be a repository of knowledge concerning the hereafter and the laws governing it. This idea bears a striking resemblance to the magical practice of necromancy, both in name and concept. Lovecraft penned a brief essay in 1927 titled, The History of the Necronomicon, which wasn't published until after his passing, but provides some extra background and history because of how enigmatic the Necronomicon was. We learn that the book's original title, Al-Azif, was a reference to its Arabic heritage. Lovecraft defined Al-Azif as that nocturnal sound supposed to be the howling of demons. We so get the impression that this book is significantly darker and more sinister than a lighthouse of brightness and rainbows. We already cited Abdullah al-Hazard, the author of the book, but we neglected to note that he was a worshipper of Cthulhu and Yog-Sothoth. Although al-Hazard was originally from Yemen, the book's concept didn't come to him until he traveled to Memphis, Egypt. He found the Nameless City in Memphis, as well as the subterranean mysteries of the city where the ruins of Babylon were located. After that, he lived out the remainder of his days in Damascus, in what is now known as modern-day Syria, until his unexplained disappearance in the year 738. The Necronomicon, Al-Azif, was written by him. After that, for the next 200 years or more, the book spread among intellectuals. In 950, Greek philosopher Theodorus Philetas translated it and gave it the title Necronomicon. The Patriarch of Constantinople burned this version of the Necronomicon in 1058 because it was believed to have influenced many people to commit atrocities that were so horrible they could hardly be mentioned. Following this, the book was seldom ever discussed again, and when it was done so covertly to keep the people who were seeking to destroy it from history from finding out. A Danish scholar would then translate the work into Latin in 1228 from Greek. The Pope would outlaw this version, although it persisted in appearing in other European nations right up until the 17th century. According to Lovecraft, the Widener Library of Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, the British Museum in London, the Bibliothèque Nationale de France, the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina, and the last location, the Miskatonic University in Lovecraft's made-up town of Arkham, Massachusetts, which also owns the Latin translation, are the only 5 institutions worldwide that hold copies of the original translated Necronomicon. Of course, there are other copies of the book in circulation, but we're not really sure how original the contents are, as these copies were essentially just copies of copies. Since most of these copies belonged to private persons, obtaining them wasn't simple or inexpensive. With that background information out of the way, the majority of you probably want to know what exactly is in the book that makes it so taboo and sinister that every reader meets a terrible end. As you may expect, the Elder Gods make up a significant portion of the Necronomicon, since we know the book was created by someone who worshipped them. Its material encompasses a wide range of bizarre science, rituals, and legends, all interwoven with eerie symbols and esoteric information that is beyond our comprehension. In the tale, The Thing on the Doorstep, the book offers a method for consciousness transfer. There is a chant in The Dunwich Horror that can call forth Yog-Sothoth, and the book itself has other rituals that can call forth gods and other entities from Lovecraft's world. There is also a chapter about raising the dead, as the name would imply. The Necronomicon can be best described as an encyclopedia of all things Lovecraftian. Even if it's a very strange encyclopedia with a deadly propensity of killing readers, it's still an encyclopedia. It also provides a thorough historical account of what Earth might have looked like millennia ago, when it was ruled and populated by unimaginable creatures and entities. What I like best about it, I believe, is that even though Lovecraft mentions the book a lot in his stories, he doesn't go into great detail about its appearance or contents, leaving it mostly mysterious, something we don't really see too much of these days, when everything is given to us for free. Really, all we know is that it's a leather book covered in metal, and even then, the title is often purposefully incorrect to conceal it from view. The possibility of reading the Necronomicon without even being aware of it generates an entirely new idea for horror. It is not hyperbole to say that there is a widespread preoccupation with the Necronomicon outside of fiction, as I noted earlier. There are still those who think it's true, and the amount of hoaxes and bizarre tales that have been told throughout the years is rather amazing. Lovecraft frequently replied to fan letters inquiring about the book's veracity by telling them it was entirely imaginary. This did not, however, stop some people from making entries for the book in library catalogs and listing the Necronomicon for sale in neighborhood bookshops. Some even went so far as to claim that the Vatican Library actually owned a copy of the book. However, the majority of this can be attributed to certain insane people and harmless practical jokers. An author writing under the pen name Simon released a book titled Necronomicon in 1970 as the fixation grew. Later on, it would be called Simon Necronomicon. The book itself asserts that it was inspired by and based on Sumerian mythology rather than making any meaningful connections to Lovecraft's writings. This definitely made it harder to distinguish between fact and fiction. As of 2006, the book had sold over 800,000 copies. It seems that a large number of Lovecraft's followers found the notion intriguing enough to continue reading. It could possibly be due to the rather ridiculous statements made in the book's marketing, including, "This book may be the most dangerous black book of the Western world." Nevertheless, its popularity led to the publication of 3 more volumes, so I suppose that's a good thing if people were interested in them. The publication of The Necronomicon Files in 1998 sought to establish without a shadow of a doubt that Simon's Necronomicon was a work of fiction by exploring not only his own version of the Necronomicon but also the several unrecognized variations that followed in its popularity. Regardless of your belief that the Necronomicon is real, we can all appreciate the book's attraction in a fictitious world and the reasons it would draw in such a diverse range of readers. Please feel free to ask me questions and leave comments below with your ideas. I've been your host for Mythology and Fiction Explained as always.